In New York, concrete jungles where New York Jets' dreams are crushed year after year. And this week, the Carolina Panthers, the Grim Reaper, are going to be doing the dream crushing. I'm hyped for this game. I want an OG 2015 win. I want a 40-3 victory. That is what my heart wants. And it shouldn't be too much to ask for coming off an impressive Panthers win over the Dallas Cowboys. The New York Jets are nowhere near the Dallas Cowboys. And Justin Fields, he's a meme. He can't throw the ball. You should be able to have your way against this Jets defense. I know they have some impressive pieces in the secondary, 10th ranked passing defense. But let's have the momentum continue to build. Bryce Young, let's see him do something elite against a New York Jets secondary that is good, bordering on elite. Let's see Young do it. And then I'll talk playoffs. I know a lot of people are talking playoffs. I'm holding my horses. It's not that I haven't done the research. I have a whole page of research here. Believe me, I'm biting my lip. I want to tell you about it. But I want to preface it with this. This is the NFC. And there are three teams in the wild card I'm looking at. Seahawks, Lions, Rams. Better rosters, mature coaching staffs, at least with Detroit and the Rams. More mature systems, more mature rosters, better talent. The Panthers could go 9-8 and still not crack a wild card berth. So I'm holding my horses on the wild card talk. I'm sorry. It's not that we shouldn't be thinking about it. It's not that we shouldn't be optimistic. I'm holding my horses on that. I want to talk about these storylines first. And I think you're in a good position against the New York Jets to continue what you've done well, which is run the ball and stop the run, stop Breece Hall, and run the ball. And then you go against Buffalo, and you have some games down the stretch. The Packers, the Aints. I can't wait for Saints Week. Let's have a season. Let's have a playoff season. But it's going to start with a culture shift, and that's the national headline no one's talking about. There's a couple headlines I'm going to talk about today. They're permeating up to the national level, and at the local level, there's not as much coverage on it. And I'm not blaming people. I think the coverage is really good. And I think a lot of the reporters are getting the necessary details and talking about things that we need to know. But some of these national headlines you're hearing, like, I don't know why they're going under the refrigerator, like an ice cube. You're kicking it under there. You just stop thinking about it. So I want to pay attention to these things. Here's Bryce Young on the culture shift in Carolina.
To the team.
There have been a few players who have specifically mentioned a culture shift amongst the franchise in the locker room. Would you agree with that there has been a culture shift? And if so, what does that look like? How would you put that in terms, that tangible terms?
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely continuing to build and grow in the right direction. I think really one of the biggest things that we've noticed is just ownership. The coaches have done a great job of laying foundation for us, and they'll be the first to tell you they emphasize it, making sure we take ownership in the cultures and the plays and in our routines and whatever it is. And I think everyone's gotten a lot more comfortable embracing that, embracing the culture, and embracing the ownership and all the little things. And I think us being able to come into our own has been, it's been great. It's been great to be a part of. It's been great to be a leader through it. So, there's still work to do, still so much for us to build off of. We know there's still so much for us to grow in, and, we're just taking it week by week, but I'm super grateful to be a part of it.
You work a 9 to 5 and you get to a Friday and you're like, I'm at my wit's end. And my first instinct on that was, is Bryce Young taking a little bit of a dig at Frank Reich? A little bit of a dig maybe at the prior season, 2024, with Dave Canales? People are taking ownership, is what the quarterback says. There's a sense of ownership, accountability. And this comes from a quarterback who might have not been the first choice of his coaches. Certainly not Canales. Canales didn't handpick the quarterback. He's not Kellen Moore handpicking Tyler Shuck. His hair standing up in the draft room to draft Tyler Shuck. He didn't pick Young. That's the reality of it. And there was tension there. And you're lying to yourself if you think Canales has always thought Bryce Young is the guy, and the play calling is a reflection of that historically. Calling these plays like he has zero faith in his quarterback to execute them. There's been tension there. Well, now maybe the coach is owning it, saying, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and call the game how I'm going to call it. If you mess it up, you mess it up. You own that. You own the execution. I own the play calling. And we go our separate ways. Frank Reich, another example. Did Frank Reich check out a little bit? Did he get in over his head? He had no offensive line, no receivers, a young quarterback, no system. And then he gets blamed. 1-9, Frank Reich gets fired. Not that he isn't a little bit to blame, but there was no players. There were no players on the team. And he looks at the quarterback and goes, you know what? Whatever. You're not going to make up for this. You're not good enough. And he didn't own the result on the field. That's where my pessimistic mind went. But I think this is more about what some of the national reporters are talking about. We're going to go into Bert Breer, who is a national NFL reporter, had a very interesting statement on Bryce Young. We will talk about that. But first, I think something else that's permeating up, it's going up. So it's not coming from down and going up. So it's not coming from the Charlotte Observer. It's not coming from the Athletic Joe person. I mean, it might be, unless if they're talking to these people, I don't know. But it seems from the national down, there's this narrative, which is there's a complete culture shift. You turn on national news. This is what they're talking about. Culture shift. Canales makes the players feel accountability, consistent with what Vasti asks there. Carolina Blitz asks Bryce Young. And Bryce Young goes, the biggest thing I notice is ownership. And the national reporters have been on this really since Monday. They've been talking about this. And I don't underrate it. I don't underrate the narrative that Canales maybe has a system where guys are bought in. And I was critical of him for getting rid of Jadeveon Clowney. Not that Clowney would have helped, but they clearly did that for character reasons. They go, we don't want this character in the locker room. And they cut ties with him. Not that he would have helped them, but you catch my drift. They didn't take a bid or a waiver on Jair Alexander on a low money deal. They didn't give him an offer because they were concerned about, well, he had the contract disputes in Green Bay. And maybe there was reasoning for that. And maybe they needed to flesh some of these things out. The Deontay Johnsons of the world. And they needed to start not just with a new coaching staff, but an entire new roster. And yes, some of the guys will stay, like Christensen and Zavala. And those guys, Zavala's been here since 2023. But maybe they needed a couple good draft classes, with my finger pointing at 2025, to get guys, and it's sort of like a baby coming into the world. It has a fresh slate, an open mind, and you can get these guys to buy into the only system that they know. This is the only system that they know. And it's a shared culture, and a lot of these players only have college experience, and that's a good thing for you. You don't have a bunch of veterans who were with Kansas City and Seattle and the Patriots and all these teams. It's a young culture. You can instill your vision, which is this rigid over-responsibility and ownership. And that is a narrative that's making its way to national headlines. Maybe it's people riding the high of a 2-game win streak. Who knows? I don't take that for granted. And there's a reason coaches like Dan Campbell, who started his career in Detroit, 3-13-1, last. There's a reason coaches like that last. The winning it's not everything. Yes, this is a production business, but it does start with the culture. It does start with the winning culture, and you can be Dan Campbell and go 3-13-1 if you have a bounce back season where you go 9-8. And I use Campbell as an example because I think the career path is going to be similar for Canales. Now, Campbell was a head coach prior and failed. Canales has much less experience on his resume, but disastrous first season at times, but did enough to give you a little hope. And the quarterback gets all the credit for it. Then you come back in 2025 or your next season, your sophomore season as a coach, and things are on the up and up. Yes, they're only 3-3, I get it. But guys seem bought in. There's no Deontay Johnsons here. You have a good offensive line and a good defensive line, and that's what started it all in Detroit. You can run the ball, you can stop the run, you finish your tackles. You might have concerns about some of the talent, like you might not have an edge rusher you're truly comfortable with at this point in time. You might not have a quarterback you're truly comfortable with at this point in time. You need more in the receiving core, or more from a receiver pass catcher standpoint, whether it's a tight end or another receiver. You need help in the secondary. The list goes on and on. But you're able to squeeze the lemon and get some juice. You're still able to get some juice from a roster that might have some needs for talent. It's the juxtaposed from Jonathan Gannon, what he's doing in Arizona, where I don't think he has the guys bought in. It's sort of like the culture's unraveling. And they might put together a decent season, Arizona might. No, they're 2-4. But they still have a good quarterback and some new pieces on defense. Maybe they figure it out. But do you feel comfortable in the culture in Arizona? Probably not. With Canales, it's on the up and up. That's what the national reporters are saying. And the local reporters are saying it to an extent too. But I hear it much more at the national level. It's like they're screaming it from the altar. Now we're going to talk about this. How does Bryce Young fit into the future of the Carolina Panthers? Again, a lot of people not talking about this. Scott Fowler did have the article on Sunday or Monday about Bryce Young comparing to Baker Mayfield. But Burt Breer took it another step and compared Bryce Young to Baker Mayfield even more. Here's the clip of Burt Breer.
Are the Panthers willing to entertain an extension? Because this is the point where you've seen some of these guys. You've seen teams turn the page on young quarterbacks. It was the Browns turning the Browns. That's really where the page began to be turned with Baker Mayfield. They went into 2021 with Baker. Baker gets hurt, and then they wind up trading Baker after his fourth year as he's going into his fifth year option. They trade him to the Panthers the year before that. The Jets made a similar decision on Sam Darnold. And like in those cases, I don't think it's that those teams didn't like those players. It just had gotten to a decision point. And so often with homegrown quarterbacks, it's either we pay them $55-60 million per year or we move on.
There's something in the air. And it seems national reporters are covering the Panthers more extensively. Maybe it's the Rico Dowdle fantasy phenom that he has turned into. I don't know what it is, but some of it could be the future of the quarterback. And maybe this is a storyline that's going to continue to develop, not in 2026, which is when it will definitely need to develop, but now. What is the future for Bryce Young? Are they going to give him the fifth-year option in 2026? You heard Burt Breer say it there. The Browns made a mistake. They didn't give it to Baker Mayfield. The Jets passed on Darnold. When do they consider that? Are they considering it? The last Dan Morgan spoke, he didn't give much of a conclusive answer on the future of the Carolina Panthers quarterback. What is to happen to Bryce Young? Now, the fifth-year option is a one-year, $30 million contract in 2027. You have a lot of cap space. So on Bryce Young's side, what is on Bryce Young's side? What is in favor of Bryce Young? If you had to extend him right now, if the season ended tomorrow, let's do this exercise. Would Bryce Young get the fifth-year option, or would he get an extension in general? I would say what's working in his favor, well, one, the cap room. 1 year, $30 million to the quarterback as a fifth-year option. It's not going to break your back. It's not going to kill you. It's not the end of the world if you have to give him that contract and it doesn't work out. Also, the market. What, you're going to go and invest highly in the quarterback position again? If I'm Dan Morgan if I'm a rational thinker, seeing what the Panthers did in 2023, trading their entire future for Bryce Young, it's not that they made the incorrect decision. It's just, it never works. Like, I feel that trade, it didn't work for the Niners and Trey Lance. I think the teams that wait for the quarterback to fall to them end up panning out. And that ends up panning out better for you. I think you're a lot more likely to find a guy like Mahomes or Brady, different draft profiles for sure, but instead of, we need the first overall pick, we need him, trade everything for the first overall pick. I think that works less often than the teams that just sit there, sit in the draft, wait to see how things turn out. If you're Detroit, you wait for the Rams to come calling for Stafford. The Eagles, they let Hurts fall in the second round. The Bills got Josh Allen, didn't have to use a first overall pick. Mahomes, I think, what was he, top 15? He wasn't the first overall pick. The Chiefs had to trade up for him, didn't have to give a ton. We know the story with Tom Brady, 6th-round pick. I don't think they're going to go and invest heavily in the quarterback position. I think if they're being rational, they're not going to do that. And they have needs all over the defense still. They need talent. I could see them going with a linebacker or a safety. Who's that guy from LSU that keeps puking on the field? That's pretty cool. I would take him. I don't know if he's going to be a first-round pick. You all would know a lot better than I do. Whit Weeks, I think, is his name. I just find that cool. He's probably not Luke Kuechly, but, at least guys will be slipping all over the field. Clean up on aisle 50-yard line. This guy's out here. What else is defending Bryce Young? Why is he going to stay here? Why is he the quarterback of the future? Well, here's one. And I had this conversation with someone who is close to the business operation in Carolina. She wouldn't want me to say this. She would probably get upset if I even said she's a high-ranking official, but I'm telling you she's a high-ranking official. She would kill me if she heard me say that. But she goes, you know what, Tone? It's a lot like the Bucs. And she goes, we think of Tom Brady and what he did for the Bucs, and there's a little bit of a sense of F you, Tampa. Like, this guy Brady, he comes in, completely changes the face of the franchise. Yes, they made some good decisions drafting. Yes, they had some good personnel and the roster and Jason Light, and it was getting better in Tampa. But Tom Brady made that a way more marketable franchise, largely dug them out of a ditch, and now they're a winning team with a winning culture. And that's a poster. I think Tepper has it on his office wall. And that's what he wanted Bryce Young to be. He wanted Bryce Young to be the guy to catalyze the winning. Look what Brady did. It's not that he increased the valuation. People overrate that. They're not trying to increase the valuation of the franchise. That's naturally going to increase over time. All these franchises, they're making more and more freaking money by the day. It's ridiculous. Look up the valuation of NFL teams over the past decade. It's better than the stock market. It's unbelievable. It's way better. What Brady did is he took a team that would never win a Super Bowl in the future and won a Super Bowl and got there. And now guys want to come to Tampa and they're riding that high. And I think Tepper wants that. And with the investment he made in Young, with the idea that Young could be that, it's sort of like he's bought in. He's sunk in too many costs. He's too invested in the quarterback emotionally, not necessarily financially, but draft pick wise, definitely. And this is the guy who you thought he could be. You thought he would have that Messiah-like aura. The Tom Brady-like aura. Does he pull the rug on this after year 3? I don't know. I don't think so, but they have a decision to make. They have a decision to make, and that's going to be coming up at least in 2026, maybe sooner we start to hear talks about that. Would the Panthers move on from Bryce Young, or is he going to be the quarterback of the future? Let's talk about this. Here's Bryce Young on the play calling and strategy against New York this Sunday.
Just execution. We want to make sure that we can be efficient with our stuff. We want to make sure we're efficient with our operation. We want to make sure that we can, we can stick to our plan and make sure, we know as any game there's going to be adjustments in game. We know that there's going to be stuff for us to, that it's going to be different or going to be the same. Whatever it is, we have to make sure that we execute. So this week, just making sure we focus on that.
Be efficient, then execute. Be efficient, then execute. That's what the Panthers quarterback is saying, and I've translated it to don't F it up, and then we'll throw it downfield. And the reason I say this is because I also listened to Canales' Wednesday press conference, and he goes, we wasted so many opportunities earlier this season. He didn't say it with that much inflection, but he was talking about the play calling and throwing down the field, and he goes, we didn't execute. What are we supposed to do when we waste this play call? And Bryce Young throws a pick or whatever, there's pressure that gets to him. It's his fault. It's not his fault. Who knows? And I found this quote so interesting. It's like Canales he wasn't upset, but he was reflecting on it. He was definitely upset in the moment. And he goes, we just called this play. Like, me and Idzik are up. It's late night. We're bloodshot eyes, sitting by the MacBook. We got like a big bowl of popcorn, like grease, like butter all over our face. 5 o'clock shadow. It's like 3 a.m. Basement, dark, blanket over the head. I'm going way too far. But you get it. You see the visual. And they're sitting there like freaking 45 minutes on one play call. We got to get Hunter Renfrow down the field so bad. We got to get him the ball. Just pounding the keys. Canales got like 180 words per minute in him. He's like, it was like a rat like crawling across the floor. Is dwelling down there. And I find this interesting. Canales is like, we invest so much in creating these plays, and then the offense doesn't execute it, and then he talks about it, he goes, we have to sit there, and then I'm on the phone with Idzik during the game, and I'm like, what do? We already wasted this play. And it's this sequential thing where if they don't get early execution, the play calling gets less innovative. And I go, isn't this so reflective of what you've seen? Where they come out with a scripted, what is it, 10 plays? Scripted 10 plays. And then if those go awry, the whole thing just falls apart. So I find this not as a warning signal. I'm not trying to be Paul Revere. The bad play calls are coming. I'm not trying to say that to you. But what I am going to say is this is what I think their approach is now, which is go out, establish the run, don't show them anything too early. Just see if you can run the ball. Don't do anything crazy, and pick your spots like you did it against Dallas. Send Jimmy Horn on a wheel route, play action to Dowdle, get him down the sideline. Don't waste these shot plays, these innovative plays early. Try to establish the run. Come out with maybe not super conservative, none of the swing passes, but nothing that's keeping them up at night either. I found that interesting. Be efficient, and then we'll execute. That's what Bryce Young says. Don't F it up. Then we'll throw it down the field. That is, I think, the mantra. Now, maybe what I would do if I'm Dave Canales and it's a game of chess, you're thinking what Aaron Glenn's going to do? Well, Aaron Glenn's probably going to load the box and stop the run. There's no way he's going to want to get ran all over like Miami and Dallas did. And I think the coaching staff in New York, as bad as they've been, they're defensive minded. They're defense first. This isn't Schottenheimer and Mike McDaniel, who could care less who could care less about the defense. They could not care less. And it shows. It showed on the field. I think he's not going to want to get ran on. Believe me. That's a pride thing for those defensive coaches. They do not want to get ran on. So if I'm the Jets, and what I think they're going to do is all the eggs in the basket, stop the run. Bryce, try to throw it downfield. If we get burnt on an 80-yard touchdown, whatever. My coaching career in New York is probably over. It's probably over anyway. Just stop the dang run. And if Bryce Young beats us, he beats us. So we'll see these competing forces. We'll see how this works. I want Bryce Young to show he can throw it down the field against this 10th ranked passing defense. I think that would be a moment of growth. I want the 40-3 win. I want it. Doesn't need to happen. Doesn't need to happen. Okay, now I want to talk about these quick. We're going to go rapid fire here because I don't want to keep you too long. Dave Canales on whether or not he's concerned that Dowdle and Hubbard will butt heads, but more importantly, the question that's asked is, these are guys that are workhorses. Is the lack of carries for Hubbard and or Dowdle going to impact them on the field? Here's the coach.
I think it's a fair statement for all running backs. They like to get a lather. They like to have rhythm, set runs up on the front side, see what they're doing. You get to the sideline in between series, you get to look at the pictures and see where the voids are at. Are they overplaying to the front side? Are they hanging back too much? And there's this cat and mouse game that happens with backs. That being said, every single carry like it's your last. Every single one with the intensity, the violence that we're looking for, it affects the whole group. So regardless of when those guys go in there, we expect Chuba and Rico and Trevor, when he gets his chances, to go out there and empty the tank on every single run.
I had this on Wednesday. I told you it's going to be a competition. I knew it. Tone was right. Tone was right. Tone has been wrong, but he was right on that. Ahead of Dave Canales even. At least in terms of what he has said publicly. I think this is the best thing for the team. I am a little bit concerned because I think the opportunity for these guys to butt heads, maybe some of that, what he's saying there, these guys both like to get lathered with carries. They want to run it 30 times. Maybe some of the rhythm gets disrupted. I think that's a possibility. I think the upside's really cool, and I think this is what you've been building. And I don't think Chuba Hubbard is concerned, per se, because that's why they drafted Jonathan Brooks. If Jonathan Brooks was here, if he was healthy, if he didn't have the second knee surgery, and he was on the field, then you would probably have the same exact situation. I think Brooks probably is a better pass catcher, at least upside-wise, than Dowdle and Hubbard. They'd probably use Brooks a little bit differently, like they used him in the game or two he was on the field last year. I think Hubbard is prepared for this. I do think he's prepared for this. I think Canales is content with the competition. I think it's a risk worth taking. I think it's a double-edged sword, Rico Dowdle's emergence, because you get this new running back. He's always been there, but you get this new shiny toy. The Ferrari was always sitting in the garage, but now you got a Porsche. And it's like, oh, the Porsche, there's a lot of horsepower in this thing. What, are you going to let the Ferrari collect dust in the garage? Come on. So I have a little bit of concern with that. Like, how is this whole thing managed? How is Rico Dowdle on the sideline when he has 5 carries in the fourth quarter? There's a little bit of a risk there. But I think ultimately the takeaway is 2 is better than 1. It is. It is. In most things, 2 is better than 1. Other roster decisions. Oh, geez. There's a lot of them going around. Austin Corbett or Cade Mays? We're going to do this quick. Cade Mays, he needs to stay on the field. I think Corbett might end up back on the field because he took the discount to be here. He took a discount to be with the Carolina Panthers. Is it a political thing? Do you owe this guy playing time? He took a discount to be here. Do you have to give him the position because of that? Veteran guy, been here for a while, locker room leader. Do you owe it to Austin Corbett? Because I think Cade Mays has been the better center I think he has a better relationship, a better rapport with the quarterback. Those airmail snaps are no longer. I like Mays. Some are saying this: Brady Christensen is doing a great job as a guard. Could he replace Robert Hunt long term? I honestly don't love this idea. I like Brady Christensen in the role he's in. I think he needs to be the first one off the bench no matter what. Maybe except center. Christensen should be in the game. He should be at tackle. He should be at guard. If you have any injury, he's the first one in. I don't like giving up on Hunt. He tore his biceps. I think he's out for, I don't know if he's been ruled out for the season officially, but it might get to that point. It's for a while. The strength of this team is the offensive line. You've built it that way. Don't ruin a good thing. It's not like you need to save money. What are you going to get for Robert Hunt? If you get a first-round pick from him, of course, anyone's on the table. But I would much rather have Christensen being the first one off the bench than Chandler Zavala. I would much rather have Christensen as your backup guard because injuries happen. We all know it. We all know the injuries happen. The offensive line is a strength of this team. Give Joe Gilbert what he needs personnel-wise to continue to allow this group to flourish. Don't get rid of Robert Hunt because Brady Christensen is played well in replacement of him. Some people might disagree with me, but I don't know. I like how it's been working. They spent a lot of money on the offensive line. It's working well. It's the most important position group in all of sports. Keep the O-line intact. This is The Tone. Thank you so much for tuning in. More is to come. Monday's going to be freaking awesome. I just really hope they win. I'm confident they'll win. And maybe Grim Reaper could be back. Aaron Glenn, 0-7. Imagine that. That's not going to be a fun Monday in New York. This is The Tone.